This video we'll work through Lesson 5. Lesson 5 does real-time rainfall data from NEXRAD data. So all we'll need for this are the ASCII files that will discretize the rainfall and a catalog file and a skeleton model. So if you can work through Lesson 1 up through like step, I don't know, 3 or 4 or 5, somewhere in there, you'll get a skeleton model. I'm just going to use this Lesson 1 complete because that's the closest thing I have to a skeleton model. But really all you need is the grid. So let me extract this real quick and then I'll load it. I'm going to start that and then back into Lesson 5. We also need to extract the rainfall data itself. So there are 288 files of 5-minute rainfall data. And I'm just going to extract it straight into Lesson 5. That's fine. It doesn't matter where it goes. And I'll click yes to load the model. And I don't need that infiltration. I don't even need to see the grid. I don't really need anything in here except the model, except Lesson 5 itself. So I'm going to just remove all these layers from Lesson 1. And then we need to work on the rain editor. So Lesson 1, we had already set up the rainfall, which we will need to kind of reset this. So 0. Total storm is 0 because the rainfall will come from the ASCII data. Uncheck the distribution, uncheck the spatially variable, and check the real-time rainfall. Leave the building switch on. Okay, the next step is very simple. It's just to import those files that we just exported. And all you have to do is point to Lesson 5. That's where they were extracted to, and select the folder. Now, I will show you what's happening. It's just starting the import process, which is just taking these individual files and importing them. There's 288 of them, so you have to figure out, when are they done? So if you sort this by name instead of type, you will see the ones that have already been completed. And if you just scroll down, you'll see that we're about a quarter of the way done. So I'm going to pause the video until that's about finished, and then I'll start recording again. Okay, so the process is just about complete. And the process, the speed of this is definitely dependent on how big your project is. So it will be much slower if you have more grid elements. So now you can see the process is complete. And you see here that all that data was defaulted to this coordinate system because that data didn't have a coordinate system. ASCII data doesn't have a defined coordinate system. So if you do this and you see that you're not getting any rainfall sampled to that cell, you really need to import one of those and check your coordinate system, which we can do in a minute. So I'll click importing finished, and then I will click, well, let's just click save. And then I'll go over here and click on, let's see, well, let's do this. I don't really care so much about any of this other data because all I want is that rainfall file. So click save, and then I'll click export, and then rain, inflow, Manning topo, click OK, and then go to Lesson 5 export folder, and then select the folder. Now, while that's exporting, we'll just wait for it. It takes a bit of time. Okay, once the raincell.dat has written, and again, that can be take a long time because that file can get really big. So as you're exporting that, just let it do its thing and just walk away from it or go do something else. Okay, click OK. And now I wanted to drag one of these files onto the map just so that you could see what it looks like. So you can drag an ASCII file straight onto the map and get a grid. And then if you zoom to the grid, zoom to the layer, you'll see that it's just a big rectangular raster of rainfall data. And it's in, I think it's in inches. And it's the total amount of rainfall that rained over that 5-minute period, interpolated linearly over the 5-minute time interval. So it'll be applied, that entire amount of rainfall in this specific interval will be applied from the start of the interval to the end of the interval linearly. And so like it just kind of builds on itself as you switch to the different data sets. Remove the layer because I don't need it. And we can zoom back into our computational domain, or we can just do this. And, oh, I apologize. I meant to tell you one more thing when I imported this data, that if you can't see the data after you import it, it's in the wrong coordinate system. But because it is ASCII data, it doesn't have a coordinate system. So you have to kind of figure out what coordinate system it's in and then shift it to the coordinate system that you need. So you can see here, this is ASCII data. It doesn't tell you what coordinate system you're using. It just aligns it to the correct location on the map if you're in the right coordinate system. So in this case, I know the coordinate system because it tells me the coordinate system right here. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and get rid of that again. And we'll take a quick look at what we exported. So back over here in the project folder, I'm going to open the other data that we want to look at. So let's just open that one. That's the catalog file and the 2 rainfall files that we have. Okay. So the catalog file has to be inside there because it's using to set the date. It's used to set the timestamp of the start of the time that this. So you can see that this storm was September 8th of 2014, and it started at It started at midnight, and then it goes 24 hours to midnight, 5-minute interval. That's this guy right here, 5-minute interval, and 288 data pairs. Rainfall.dat will have the exact same information read into it. So 5-minute interval, 288 files, and the start and end of the rainfall series. Flow2D doesn't really use this part of it. It's just nice to have that information. And then if you use, now this data may not even open for you because it's a very large data set. But if you look here, I'm going to click Control F, and I'm going to count the number of cells we have. So if I click count, so if you find that this data gets like too big to manage, you might consider changing your interval. 288 matches. So when Flow2D starts at time 0, it will interpolate from 0 time 0 rainfall up to 5 minutes, and then whatever rainfall is listed per each cell. The rain.dat is very simple. It's just, you do have to have this first line of data, just the 4 zeros, and you do have to have the rainfall switch turned on, and this is the rain on building, so that's important. But if you have any other data in here, just delete it. Just get rid of it because you don't need it. Now, when you're ready to run this on your full main project, it's very simple. You just take that data. So you don't have to do this again. This project is done, but you can just take this data and you can copy it into your final project. So let's say right now we're up to lesson 6, and now lesson 6 is complete. My project is complete. My design storm data is complete, but now I want to use a different, I want to run the rainfall or maybe the calibration model or whatever you might have. So I can just replace the 2 rain.dat file with these 2 and run it again, and it'll give me the real-time rainfall. Of course, you might need to run it past 24 hours to let the water go where it needs to go, but this will give you the rainfall for that 24-hour period. Let's see, that's it for rainfall data. Let me stop the recording and maybe I will, yeah, I think that's it. Oh, sorry, I know what I wanted to do. I wasn't quite finished here. It was, let me take this to lesson 6 and I will just run lesson 6 because again, every time I run something, it's just like testing it, and then I click OK. So that has the real-time rainfall data in there. So when it starts, it's going to look a little bit different. So you can still see at this point, you can still see the detailed graphics, but you notice that that rainfall calculator, or that rainfall hydrograph is gone. That you would see that little window over here. But if you're using a real-time rainfall data on a scenario, you're probably going to want to run in text mode, simply because your project's probably going to be pretty big if you're doing real-time rainfall on it. Okay, so I'll stop the recording, and that is it for lesson 5.